Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Daily Entrepreneur. Today's kind of a special podcast because me and Jay Season,
Season,
Season.
still wrong.
Me and Jay met several years ago in college, and this has gone from just being a classmate to becoming a brother. He really has excelled at being an entrepreneur and starting his business. And before I keep going, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, Jay. For those that don't know you, your background, where you grew up, how you got to the point of starting your own business, and where you're at now.
Great. I'm Jay Season, and I've started Lifestyle Studio. Mainly, I started it off as a photography studio, but I've kind of expanded more into both graphic design and video, mostly video and photography. Where I started was back in the Philippines in 1984. No, I'm just kidding. So I got my degree originally in graphic communications. I was studying to be an illustrator slash concept artist, and from there I joined the military. I wasn't really feeling it, so I wanted to go back to school, and I got back into photography after a couple other things that I realized I didn't really want to do anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much where we met.
Yeah.
And while I was doing photography, I was also getting like a minor in entrepreneurship. And since Edgar was in my class, uh, pretty much we hit it off from the get go, and he kind of just taught me the ways of entrepreneurship and got me going. So yeah.
You remember how we met?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I so we had the same type of backpack.
Which this is like a tactical backpack, so it
Yeah.
has Velcro on it. You can put pouches, all that kind of stuff. And
Yep.
mine genuinely had a first aid kit on it. It said first aid on the outside. And I look over at him, and we kind of looked at each other, but we didn't say anything.
Yep.
And then what did you ask me? You're like,
Oh
he's
yeah.
like, you keep
I
a
was
first.
like, hey, is that really a first aid kit on
Yeah.
there? And you're like, yeah. I was like, oh, I keep candy in mine. So, yeah.
Which got me rolling because I'm thinking like in my head, like if there's an emergency and somebody pulls your backpack,
Yeah.
there's fucking candy in there.
Yep.
I was dying laughing, and that was kind of the starting point to our story.
Yeah.
We were in the same classes, and we kind of just started talking. It wasn't like
Yeah, no, I liked it because I feel like we've already had that, like, kind of relationship where we kept everything real
yeah,
with each other. It was more like we've already experienced enough life to be
Yeah.
like, let's just get this done. Let's do what we need to do. And, there was nothing else to it.
yeah,
So, and I believe that, like, at least the way that I go with most people, I'm pretty truthful, like whether I like it or not, whether if it's good or if it sucks, I'll let you know.
yeah,
And I liked it because you were the same way.
yep.
And so it was one of those things where when sometimes I would see your work, I'm like, yo, that's kind of trash. And you're like, yeah, I know. And it's the same way back and
Yeah.
forth. He's just like, that was really bad. And I'm like, well, I
Yeah.
got an A in it, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then there was times where like we really gave each other praise for like the way that we did stuff because the way that you shot was so different
Mhm.
than the way that I shot.
Yes.
And then I remember the one project you did. What is it? The Seven Sins.
Yeah.
What it was?
Yeah. It was. Yeah. We had to do
And-
Simpsons, yeah.
Yo, this guy could not sleep because he's trying to perfect this whole series.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize how much detail he put into it until we sat down behind the actual file itself and you broke it down. And I was just like, yo, this is rad. And even like after you got an A, you're like, I could have done better. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? So we really gave each other praise and really gave each other a hard time. But I think that's generally what made our friendship what it is today.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the day you finally called me and you're like, "Hey, man, I want to start my business." Do you remember this?
Yeah,
Day?
yeah.
Before
So
the studio expanded, I had just got in the office.
yeah, yeah. Actually, so and that was the cool thing was that like I was working two jobs, mainly like one job going to school
Yeah,
and the military at the time, just the National Guard. So it was only a week and a month type of
yeah,
deal. But I mean, I got to the point where I was just tired of all of it. I didn't I didn't want to work for anyone anymore, and I knew it, and it was one of those things where I was getting really depressed in life. Like it was like I felt like a failure. Um, I just I just felt like I needed to make a change, and if I didn't jump into it now or like
yeah,
then I would have never jumped into it. So that's pretty much yeah. When I decided to call you and hang out with you,
yeah,
for a little bit, and right from there it was like you were just willing to help, like right away, and I was just like, because I was lost, and I'm like, I don't, what should I do,
yeah.
and this and that, and yeah, you got me going, uh, got my license, and after that, I pretty much, I think it was close to the time when you were uh, starting to expand. I think because I think you already had this.
No, because
Was
you.
it?
So I had the first half of the office,
Yeah,
and you came by, and I don't think you actually implemented your LLC till about a
that's
couple
right.
months later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think it was almost 8 or 9 months that you finally were like, "Yo, I'm done."
yeah,
And not naming companies, but the company you were working for was just
yeah,
you were just like, "Dude, I can't do this."
yeah.
And I still remember at that time, at the same time you brought that up, I was thinking about expanding the office because we
Hmm.
were running out of space. And that's when I brought the idea up to
Yep.
you. We had the meeting and we talked about, hey, would you like to join? Come in, have a desk area, have a place to shoot, have the equipment, share the equipment that we own. And it worked out.
Oh yeah, it's been pretty much like a blessing ever since. Because
Yeah.
I think we started it, or you helped me get it started first, and you did have just this half, and I think I was working, or I was kind of sharing a space with Hatch
Yeah, yeah.
at the time. So I mean, it it had its benefits. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but you know what?
Yeah.
It made me money. It got
Yeah.
me pretty much where I needed to be. So, and I know that they started closing down,
Yeah.
and that's when you were saying that you were expanding,
Yeah.
and that's when I was like, "Let me in,"
Yeah.
pretty much.
Dude, let's talk about that first month because I still remember how frustrated you were. You had your
Um,
license, you had all the gear, and you were coming in here and you barely had anything to do.
yeah, yeah,
I remember kind of those first 2 weeks, you're like, dude, I'm not making enough money. You're like
yeah,
tripping out. And I'm like, dude, let's figure this out. Tell me how you felt those weeks, man.
yeah. It was kind of a struggle. I was actually really worried, mainly because I think it was like kind of like that first 2 to 3 weeks. I would come in and just work on my business, working on like my branding, my design, and this and that. But I mean, who cares if you have a good branding and design if you don't have any clients, and if you're not making any money to get to where you need to. And it was bad. Like I started right at COVID, like right when it hit.
Yep.
And I was just like, forget everything. I quit. I quit.
Yeah.
I quit everything. Like I put in my resignation to the military, which I mean, I was getting paid really well for what I was doing there. And then even the job that I was at, even though it was a little agitating, like a lot of the time, but at the same time, like I was making pretty good money, and to just throw it all away and be like, no, it's 100 or nothing. It's kind of like I feel like I thrive more on either like you fail or you succeed, and I had it in me where I was just like, I am not gonna fail this. Um, and so those first 2 weeks, I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to fail this, So, but, you were there to help me the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I actually had some really good friends to keep me on or keep me busy because my friend Lee Stevens, he just became a uh, or a real estate agent
Yeah.
at the time too. I think he was a real estate agent for maybe about 6 months or something before I started my business.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Hey man, I need photos. Like, I need you to do this listing for me." And I'm like, "Well, I've never shot houses before, but yeah, sure, let's do this." I think the first house was like in Fernley, and it was a shit show. Like, there was, like floor that wasn't there. There was the kitchen was like halfway done or halfway destroyed, however you wanted to like look at it. Um, and I put so much effort and like this thing took me for a house that should have taken me like anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. It took me 2.5 hours about to do. Because I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like flashing everything, getting all the, trying to make sure everything looked good. Um, and and then after that, it took me a good, I would say 3 hours editing all the photos because I think there was like 40 photos afterwards. And I had no idea, because I was like, I'm watching videos on YouTube. Like, how do you do real estate? And, literally, I think I watched like 2 hours of just real estate videos like
Learning
before I left to go to Fernley to go check it. Yeah. And learning it. And then like when it was done, I was like, I don't know if I did this right, but here you go, man. I think I only charged him like $100 because I was just like, nah, like, nah, I'm not gonna charge you anymore because that wouldn't feel right, But I guess they said that it was so good that when they actually visited the place, they were like, "What the hell is this? Like, this isn't what the pictures show." I mean, it was, but yeah,
it wasn't.
yeah. So
no, that is awesome, and shout out to Lee, man.
Yeah,
he's been a big reason for your success too, and
Yeah.
I've got to meet him, and he's a great guy to just sit down and talk to, and
yeah.
man, maybe we should have him on the podcast.
Oh, you should. Yeah.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
One of the things that Liam, that I liked about Lee when we met him was that he really embodied kind of our same mindset of community over competition.
Yes.
And he has that mentality, and talking to him and, hanging out with him has just been nothing but a blast.
Yeah.
The first year that that first couple weeks was that. And then I still remember, like, 3 months in, 4 months in, you're like, dude, I don't have enough time. You were just shooting left and right.
It picked up like crazy. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. And it was, I don't know if I started burning out. Like, who burns out in 3 months? Like, really? But I was definitely starting to burn out because it was like, I was just shooting nonstop. And the thing, though, was because I was still kind of, even though I wasn't a beginner in photography or anything else, I was a beginner in the whole,
Real estate.
just not just in real estate, just the business
Side
aspect,
of it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm doing so much work, and literally I was making as much as I would with my 2 jobs, but I was working literally like 24 hours. Like, it was too much. And I'm like, I need to change. Like, this is awesome. But at the same time, like, it's one of those things I think you have to like learn that, like, how much your time is actually worth. And then I started hiking up my prices. And that's when like I got a little bit less work. But everyone that is willing to pay my prices. So it was like, okay,
it almost evens out.
Yeah, like I could deal with this, I remember at one point I think it was like 6 months into it. Every month I was doing like just a little bit more, like making a few more $100 than I did the last month. And then I was doubling, and now it's like, I mean, I'm actually really surprised that even this month, I think this is, let's see, a year. I started in November with my
Of
LLC.
20, yeah,
Yeah,
20,
2021. No,
no,
2020.
2020.
Yeah, and yeah, in November. So pretty much this is about 14 months, I think,
Yeah,
into it, or
that sounds
something
right.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who would have thought, like, this month I'm actually doing really well, and I haven't even, it's one of those things where you set it up to where you have the right clients, and it's like I haven't even, and this is really bad, but I haven't done anything to market myself to get out there and make more money. Like, it's the same kind of client, like my same clients,
Yeah.
that's keeping me afloat. And like, especially like Lee is a huge, which is
Yeah.
scary, because it's like, if I ever lost him, I'm like, oh no, like I really have, and it's not even oh no, that like, what am I gonna do? It's more like, oh no, now I really have to work my
Yeah.
ass off to like find more clients, So yeah.
So Lee, if you're watching this, don't cut him off.
Yeah, don't, please don't.
And the good thing is that you guys have been friends forever since
Yeah,
high school.
junior high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember you guys telling me the stories and everything you guys went through. And he was actually in your wedding, which was super cool, man. Lee's a really good guy, and I'll always, talk good about him because he really is a great person.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this because we're kind of in a weird situation
Mm-hmm.
because you work out of our office, and people always think that you work for me.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because I do hire you
Mm-hmm.
as an independent contractor every time that we need you.
Yeah.
For example, we'll be going out this week and we're bringing you along. Technically, you are part of E.Sierra. You're part of the family, but
Yeah.
a lot of people can never separate us. They're like,
I guess,
oh, do you work for Edgar?
I mean, I guess I am your like legitimate like drone operator.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, oh, so Jay works for you? Like, no, he has his own, he has his own business. And that's pretty cool, though. And talk to me about, like, that fear, because I remember those first 3 weeks, dude. You had such a fear that you were going to go back.
Yeah. And that was definitely one of those. I just didn't want to, but it was just so stressful. Like, I had a lot of, at the time, like my girlfriend, she really supported me, and she was just like, you're going to be fine. You're going to do okay, and, but it was, I feel like if it wasn't for her and wasn't for you and Lee being there for me, I probably would have failed, because it was, a lot of it was, like, I have a lot of resiliency to failure, but at the same time, it's like, it's, you throw everything on the line, and I think with that fear, it really pushed me to start working on myself, and working on my business, and just knowing that, like, I just had to tell myself every time, I'm like, this is the first real year, like, I'm doing this, like, this is, I've only started, and most businesses and entrepreneurs, when they first start, they say, like, within the first year, you're either failed and done, or or the second year, third year, like,
Yeah, the statistic says that only 50% of businesses make it past the first year.
Yeah.
And
I think it's 20,
and then it's
25%
past
after
the second year. But of that 50%,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then I think it drops down to like only 13% of that
After-
25%.
I think that's
get
after
past
5
30.
years.
I think it's 3 years.
Is it 3 years?
Yeah. And I mean, dude, you're going on year 2.
Yeah,
And you're
year 2.
doing fine. You're striving
Yeah.
and succeeding. And I do have a question for you. I don't think I've ever asked to you, even though we're really close, is how do you think the environment around you affected that? Because, dude, I remember the first 3 weeks, we're sitting here explaining retainers. I'm showing you how to use the CRM.
Yeah.
Showing you how to do the back end and structure that. And
Yeah.
you think you would have kept going if we weren't here to?
No, actually, I don't. Like, I feel like because of the support, like, it just, I wouldn't say it made, it made things easier. Having the support it makes you stronger as a person. Because the thing is, it's like, I knew where my strengths were and where my weaknesses were. And especially in the business side, like I understood it, but I didn't really understand it. And you were there, so it's like it's that partnership that it's like I got your back, and whenever you need me, and you got my back, type of deal. And I really feel like if you weren't there to show me how to run things and how to do things, I definitely would have. I definitely would have failed. I would have gone back working, hating my life, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I only ask you that it's not a sense of boosting ego, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs that don't surround themselves with the people that they should.
No, exactly.
And then they end up failing, end up becoming part of that 50%
Yeah.
that fails after that first year.
Or they find the wrong people and
Yes.
do it the wrong way. And that's,
And you've been here when I've had meetings with other entrepreneurs that
yeah.
got, dude, money was taken out of their banks and
Yeah.
for things that should have never happened. I mean, we recently had an entrepreneur that came in that was charged $250 for an EIN. So recently we had an entrepreneur come in, and you heard it, spend
Yeah.
$250 for an EIN, which is an employee identification number, which by the IRS is free.
Yep.
So you get screwed over like that, and sometimes it's not on purpose; it's on accident. But just like you, when you came to ask for guidance, and like your ego wasn't in the way, and you were just like, "Yo, I really don't know how to do this."
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was a big thing that a lot of people have yet to be able to do. And there's nothing wrong, you guys, with coming and asking questions. And if you messed up, hey, you messed up.
Yeah.
That's just it.
You just gotta own it.
Own it and
Yeah.
let's fix it. Help, let us help you fix it. And I think that's what I really liked about you is that the day you asked me, hey man, I don't know how to do an LLC, but can you help me?
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. And I remember you're like, hey man, how much do I owe you? I was like, don't worry about it. It's, it is what it is. And now you're here and you started your business. You've succeeded. I remember the first couple months after you got your LLC, you were kind of like, I don't know what to do. You were
Yeah.
kind of just part-timing it.
Yeah.
A couple shoots here and there, a couple stuff. And then.
I was here though. I was here.
Yeah.
I was here first thing in the morning. I think
Yeah.
I was here every day at like 7:00.
And then the day you came and set up, I could see that smile
Yeah.
on your face because you were like, all right, let's do this.
Yep.
And you went through that whirlwind of emotions, too, that everybody goes through.
Yeah.
1 minute you're like, yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
And you're like, why am I not getting business? You're like really on edge about it. And man, I do want to say I'm proud of where you're at because you really have taken that entrepreneur mindset and just fucking grinded it out,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think once you start your own business and when other people rely on you, it's one of those things where you have to keep going.
Yeah.
You can't. And the whole thing with the ego, there is times when I'm a little overconfident in certain things, but I feel like it's only because it's something that I know about. It's something that I know how to do. But definitely when there's something that you don't know, you can't go in there. You can't fake it till you make it. I know that some people say that, but you know what? You have to go in there throwing aside your ego and saying, like, I don't know how to do this, but we can figure it out.
Yeah.
And that was always my biggest thing, was that, like, I don't know everything, but I can always learn how to do it, And I think that's another thing that helps with, just even where I'm at now, is that I'm still constantly learning and I'm still constantly trying to evolve, like, not just myself, but my business too, And just because you start a business, I feel like you still need to find your other avenues of making more than one type of income. And I think that's what helps here is that, like, the awesome thing is that since I actually had a degree in graphic design and stuff, it's cool because Robert, like, we can go back and forth and be like, oh yeah, that looks good. And it just takes me back. I'm like, oh, I know this stuff too, and it kind of keeps me a little sharp at that part. No, but yeah,
that is awesome.
It's great being surrounded by people that do the same thing you do. And then you see, like, I see you evolve and all the things that you're doing. And it still keeps me going, like, and it's funny, like, I haven't told this to you or anyone other than Steph, but sometimes I'm just like, you're making you're making good money, you know, and I just see you just keep rising and rising, and I'm just like, this guy, you know, I'm like, I know I can do better.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I can do better. If he can do it, you know, I'm like, I know I can do it. And the great thing about that is that like, having you around me, it keeps me wanting to do better. And I feel like if you're not around the same type of people if you're not around the people that always wants to like help themselves and help others and like elevate themselves, then you're not going to be that person either. I mean, unless it's really deep down in you to do it.
Right.
But at some point, you're just going to be like, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. You know, but I don't ever want to get to that point. I constantly want to elevate in everything that I do.
Yeah, because some people do plateau like that. They basically are just like, oh, 80,000 a year, I'm fine, or 40,000, I'm fine. Live my day and go to my 8 or 9 to 5, and that's what separates us from the rest of the world as entrepreneurs. And even Lee, dude, when Lee talks, he brings that all out. He's oh yeah, I want to do more next year. I already have this planned out, that planned out.
He's like, it's crazy because he's so successful, and he's still like, no, we can do more. Like he's just like, yeah, I can't complain, but I'm not where I need to be yet, you know. And I'm just like,
but from an outside perspective,
I'm like, oh my god, yo, if I can make as much as you have to pay in taxes, I'm like happy, you know.
And that's a Lee joke.
Yeah.
So no, that is awesome, man. And yeah, I wanted to bring you on the podcast just because you have done so much to this point, and not that I ever doubted your abilities, but with the sense of what I've had to go through with other entrepreneurs, I thought that after those 3 weeks you were going to be done.
Oh yeah.
I honestly was like, this guy's not going to make it past these 3 weeks. I remember coming into the office every day and just kind of like, at one point you were just like fiddling your thumbs. You're trying to like figure it out, but you were here and that's what mattered to you. Yeah. And I remember you doing all that and you're just kind of like frustrated, angry, upset. You kind of went through like all the steps. All the emotions, all the steps of what it's like to be the first couple weeks of being an entrepreneur. And now you're in a great position and you're growing, you're doing the things that you want to do. And honestly, man, I'm proud to be able to bring you along, to be part of our journey too, because dude, you've killed it. I mean, left and right, we've had such great photo shoots, such great videos, and such great weddings that you've been part of that I can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah, no, and it's awesome. Like, and even, I'm actually proud to be here also, awesome. Like I'm very proud to have you guys as my friends. 'Cause I mean, seriously, it was like, even for that one wedding that we did where my ankle was like, I could barely walk. Yeah. And it was so, like, for me, it was so awesome to be able to be like, hey guys, like, I need your help. Yeah. And being able to pay you. Yeah. To be like, can you take care of this? Yeah. And I think that was one of my moments where I just felt, I was very prideful. Like I was very happy and I was proud to have friends like you and Robert, to just be able to be like, we got you, you know, and then do amazing work on top of it. And it was nice because even though that you knew what you were doing, you were still like, you're the lead of this. Yeah. Like we're getting this, the shots that you need. You tell us where to go. And it was nice that it was like no egos. I feel like on both sides.
100%.
Because I was just like, if I wanted a certain shot, I'm like, hey, can you get that? And you're just like, yeah, sure. And same thing with Robert. Like, yeah, we got this.
Yeah, so. Dude, that was kind of crappy because that morning you're like, yo, my ankle's gone. I can't. Yeah. And I thought it was just like maybe you sat the wrong way. You pinched it a little bit. Yeah. I was like, you're gonna be fine. It's Jay, the Almighty. But
Yeah.
when I saw you come into the church limping, I was like, oh no, this is more than that. And I think all of those years of being friends kind of led up to that, and working together was that like I knew that you sitting back and standing wherever you had to stand wasn't about not wanting to work, because you were still willing to like push yourself.
Oh, I was still trying.
Yeah.
I was the whole time. I'm just like trying to get there, and you're like,
Sit
just
down.
back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got this. We got
Yeah.
you. I was like, I know, but I got to do something. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah.
And then it's funny because it almost like seemed like I took lead. And I was like, hey, you just stand there and hold the camera. We'll go do the rest of the walking around. And shout out to Robert for that day, because Robert,
Oh, you put in work.
dude, he put in so much work
Yeah.
that day. He was only supposed to be there for a couple hours. He stayed to the very last minute. And then, we still drove home. He killed it that day. And dude, I honestly think that was, on my perspective, that was also another big thing for our friendship.
Yeah.
Is that there was no egos. There wasn't like, hey, man, you suck. You shouldn't have done this. It was like, yo,
Yeah.
we just need to help each other today. Like, today's not the day to have that kind
Yeah,
of mentality.
exactly.
It was
Yeah.
like, let's
Like,
get this stuff
we're
done.
an actual team. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and it was, I don't know, like, I feel like family here, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
And it's one of those things where even sometimes you can't rely on family, you know?
Yeah.
And especially with all this stuff, I feel like I can 100% rely on you guys, you know? So.
And the time you forgot, why'd you forget a strobe here? And I had to drive
Oh,
across town
yeah.
at like 8 in.
No, was it a strobe or was it I
I
think it
don't
was
know,
no, I think it was
soft-
a softbox.
Yeah.
Just a
I
softbox.
think it wasn't even.
It wasn't even any, and then you drove like 20, 30 minutes to get to where I needed it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, man.
But you know, and I'm glad that we had the conversation about, you know, you not having a first date and having candy.
Yeah. Right.
I think that kind of set the tone for this relationship and this friendship. And, you know, I was glad to be part of your guys' wedding and be there and, you know, be able to celebrate that with you and Steph. And even me and Robert were both surprised when they're like, oh, Robert and Edgar, like, I was like, for what? And they're like, oh, you know, photos, like, you guys are selected. I was like, man, I really appreciated that. That was a huge moment for me, because I'm like, wow, that was a real feeling right there. And and I hope the listeners and people watching this don't take this as like we hate each other in the office.
Oh, no.
But sometimes we come in and we're so comfortable with each other that we just do our work, sit behind our computers and get stuff done. And you know, sometimes we don't say, hey man, you know, I appreciate you. Sometimes we don't do that on a daily, but doesn't mean
more like the opposite.
Yeah.
You know,
we roast each other and,
Yeah.
you know, we give each other shit about our photos and whatnot. And, but that's the camaraderie that we enjoy and really appreciate in this office, which is awesome.
Yeah. It's not very often that you find real people, you know. My dad has told me when I was young, and it really kept to me, where it was like, you know, as a kid, you have friends for days, you know, but as you get older, you'll start to learn that you'll have less friends than you have fingers. You know, less real friends than you have fingers. And it's absolutely true. You know,
100%.
So
well, Jay, thank you for your time. I know you got a long way to get back to your office.
Yeah. Might just sleep over.
But no, thank you for coming on to the show, man. Where can we follow you? Where can the listeners and viewers follow you? What's your IG handle?
Oh, no. No. Okay, so I have 3 that I'll tell you about. So I have my original, I think it's just jseason_photography.
Yep.
I think that's it. I don't remember. I'm on it, but I don't like log in all the time. And that's at Instagram. And then I have my Lifestyle Studio at Instagram.
Okay.
And then I have one of my like more personal work photography, and that's Tribe Called Light. Yeah. So more than likely you can just find me at Jay Season, and then I'll pop up in the
all 3 of them.
all 3 of them will pop up
because it's Jay Season.
Yeah, and yeah.
Awesome, man.
That's really where you could find me.
Well, thanks again, man, for coming on the show, taking the time out of your busy day to talk to us. And you guys, just a takeaway from this is you never know where you're going to be at when you're going to meet somebody. I honestly never went into that class thinking I'd meet you.
Yeah.
And out of everybody that we've talked to, become friends with, it seems like me and you were the only ones that actually stayed in touch. Everybody just kind of fell off and, done their thing. And I remember our professor, she was like, man, I'm so proud of you guys. You guys all did something. Same thing with Robert, because she found out I hired Robert. And she's like, yo.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, that's awesome.
She wants us this, I guess, for springtime.
Yeah.
She wants us to go to her class. So she did mention that.
I don't know what we're going to teach. What we're going to say.
Maybe just
Just show up.
You don't need to go to school, man. I'm just kidding.
Be an entrepreneur.
Just, you know what?
Drop out right now.
You don't need this. Just go do it. It's going to suck for the first 3 weeks.
And then it's going to get better.
And then it might suck some more, but you just have to pull through.
With that being said, you guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again. And we will see you guys on the next episode.
Peace.